I made a lot of failures, and the only known cure to failure at the moment, because they did not come out with a new vaccine for it, is faith. If you don't have faith, then you're not going to succeed. So you need to have faith, and you need to do all of the work to climb your mountain, whatever your mountain is. And if you have the right Sherpa, if you have the right individuals that want your success, you're bound to get to that top of the mountain. It's about breaking those mental beliefs, those barriers that are sabotaging our destinies.
That was JD Tremblay, and he went from the brink of a mental health crisis to the finish line of some of the world's most grueling triathlons. But his real victory didn't happen in his legs, it happened in his mind. Today, he's going to walk us through his framework to move beyond those mental barriers to reach the top of your mountain, whatever that might be. All right, let's jump right in with JD Tremblay. Hey, JD, good to see you again. In part one, we talked about your journey from childhood up to you doing the EpicDeca. I feel like we barely scratched the surface of the EpicDeca. There's probably, that could be 3 episodes alone just talking about that. But in this part 2, I do want to get further into what you've done since then and how you've taken that experience and the experience of the other races that you've done and are doing and really translate that into a service of serving men and helping men, I guess, perform better, right? And operate at higher levels in other areas of, all areas of their life, I take it, you're not just working with triathletes in the men that you're serving.
Yeah, we only have right now, at the moment, only one triathlete. He's an Olympian. We're not going to name him, but that's the only triathlete that we're working with right now.
And so these are just, are they all involved in sports or not even that?
No, not at all. There are men that want to reach a certain level of success. So they're not the smartest, the one that have the most knowledge, or the one that have the most amount of money, because all of these can be acquired. If I say that you don't have a lot of money, but then you have a system and tools on how to acquire it, then that person can change their lifestyle just with a financial perspective. So it's about having the heart for the goal and really being willing to do all of the difficult steps, or what seems difficult if you don't have the right mindset or even the right individual to lead you to the top of your mountain. If you don't have the right Sherpa, to use the analogy of the person that is climbing the Everest, then there's a high probability that you will not make it at the top. At the top, there's less oxygen, and it's quite difficult when you reach the top.
Well, so maybe we approach this, JD, that you're my Sherpa today for this podcast episode. And I was thinking about you. So last night I went out for a bike ride with my club, and it was like a 30-mile ride. And then I jumped in the pool this morning, swam a mile. And I was thinking about you and wondering, you're still doing these ultra triathlons at distances that far exceed what I'm doing. And I'm struggling, with the short distances that I'm doing. What does your training program look like? How do you prepare and maintain the level of fitness to do these races?
Well, the majority of people only need to train 3 times a day for less than an hour. That's for the majority of people. If you go into a higher intensity or even a higher workload, so to speak, then you're looking at even being close to an elite level at the moment right now. So, and there's only Olympians or professional athletes that will be training 2 times a day and potentially even 7 times a week. So there's only these people right now. For me, yeah, we're talking about zone 1, zone 2 with sometimes interval. This morning I did some intervals. So I did an hour and a half of cycling. So I did intervals, but yesterday was zone 2. So which I'm assuming your audience would know what zone 2 is. It's just above what you're able to talk while you're doing the activity.
Right. In a typical week, how many, maybe put it like in, how many miles of cycling and running and swimming are you doing in a typical week of training?
Well, if I'm training for an event, then yes, I will take it seriously, and then I will train with a lot of volume or intensity depending on the race. But at the moment, I just finished the Trail Half Marathon World Championship. So I flew from to Malta, then flew for a client in Italy, and then I just came back.
So I'm gathering it's not about the miles that you're putting in. There's maybe something else, and maybe we can dive into that. Let's explore. So you finished the EpicDeca, and how long was it before you wrote the book? Was that right after that?
Yeah, it was right after I was being contacted by people, and they were asking me how did I complete this, and in my mind it makes sense. In my mind it was natural, but you can't just tell people it's natural. You can't just tell people you're gifted or you're special, because again, it just makes it completely impossible for them to achieve
right.
if you are gifted. Now, those might be excuses that some individuals are saying, and I'm not disproving that there are some facts that prove that some individuals are more gifted than others in different areas. But in this case, I would say that the majority of people just have limiting beliefs. To prove it, we had one client that came over for a retreat, and we took him on a challenge, and one of the challenge was a half marathon. Now the guy never ran in his well, okay, he's not a runner. Okay, let's just put it this way: he's not a runner, and never ran a 10K in his life. And then we're taking him into a half marathon with no training at all. Okay. So again, I don't recommend everyone to do that. But again, if you have the right Sherpa, if you have that right individuals to lead you, then you're definitely able to achieve more. Hence the idea and the point that I'm making. And so we took him to that half marathon, and he completed it, and that was the pinnacle of his life. It was somewhat of a mindset shift for him. He wore that medal so uh, eloquently because to him it was such a breakthrough moment. He broke his mental barrier, that it was not about physical challenge at that point. Yeah, there was somewhat of a physical challenge to it, but he was not injured at the end. He understood that, like, the next day he was walking to a restaurant. He walked to the airport on the very next day, and no injuries, no pain. And he did not understand why these people are in pain after a half marathon, and why was he not. And I just told him that his basic biology is just that we remained in zone 1 and 2 for the whole duration. And for him, yeah, we just did a lot more walking than the majority of people would want, right? A lot of other people are just pushing themselves. So again, it's about breaking those mental beliefs, those barriers that are, uh, again, sabotaging our destiny, so to speak.
Interesting. So your book, Hunger for More, was that really the crux of it, was overcoming your own mental barriers, or how others can overcome theirs?
Yeah, it was about advice, giving them advice, and then also sharing with people the story of the EpicDeca and all these other races, claiming and showing to people that there's nothing special about JD. I just use the structure and certain systems that everyone has access to. But again, and it's going to get much harder nowadays. There's too much noise online. There's You look at AI. AI is a wonderful tool if used properly, But again, you put one word in and then you have an entire book. That's too much words. You just need to go straight to the point. Here's what I need. I have gastric issues. Well, there you go. You need this type of remedy to fuel properly and to not have gastric issues while you are on that run. There you go, right? Like, it's plain and simple. There's nothing like a reading 5 page about some issues that eventually is wrong in the first place, and trying to make your own decision based on that. And then there's a lot of other people that are just not knowledgeable. They've never gone to battle, and then
Yeah.
they're talking about it. So now they get the person who has gone to bat, has hit a home run and a grand slam as well, or 10. And
In
then
10 days.
in 10 days. And then they also have the advice that comes with it from an educational standpoint, because I use all the reference and the textbooks that I have used while being in university to, again, showcase all of my points that I'm making. So it's not just coming from my own personal belief, it's also coming from educated individuals that are able to provide these tools. So I just combined everything and then shared it with people. I'm glad it became a bestseller in French, English, Spanish. It's in 5 different languages and all the countries that Amazon delivers. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And then how long after that did you start the academy?
The academy started. It was a year after we started the academy, and then we started because I discovered that it was not about necessarily about my mental struggles. It was about now helping others. That's what was the purpose of it. It was not just a selfish way to look at it where I wanted to heal. It was now to help others in that process as well. That they were all struggling at different levels. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's finances, sometimes it's physical pain, or I would say sabotage in a sense, because a lot of them are just having these limiting beliefs, as I said, that they can't
Yeah.
achieve a half marathon for some reason, because they're seeing online, and a lot of it is pride. A lot of it is pride, because people are seeing only the Strava individual that put all the runs or the cycling, and you're not showing that you're in zone 1 for 5 months and then you burst into a crit and you blast through everybody because you have fresh legs. No, everybody just uses only the best and then they're just showing, oh, here, I pushed 1,000 watts for 5 seconds over here on that bridge specifically. And thank you for showing off. But again, how is that beneficial for me if I am not at that level, or no one out there is able to push 1,000 watts for 12 hours while you're inside of an Ultraman race, right? So it's not beneficial for me to compare myself to others.
Yeah. How did you come up with the name Hungry Warrior Academy?
So it has a Christian foundation, and it was based on the story of David and Goliath. David and Goliath, the brothers were, so it was the Israelites against the Philistines. For those that are not Christian or don't know about the story of David and Goliath, the Israelites were at war with the Philistines. Philistines were sending their best warrior, which the Bible claimed this guy was a giant named Goliath. So inside of the army of Israel were David's brothers. David's brothers were considered real warriors. Why? Because they had the equipment. The Bible does not say, but we're assuming that because they were in some type of army, they had some form of training as a warrior. So they have the equipment, they have the training, which is assumed, And they also have the community of warriors. But again, it comes from a dogmatic system. Did they really have the heart to defeat those Philistines or to defeat whichever army? But in that case, it was the Philistines. So we can clearly see that they didn't. Okay, they were scared. And David came, did not have the tools, no community as a warrior, did not have um, even the training of an actual warrior. The Bible says that he was defeating lions and bears, but again, that's more of an unorthodox way of training as a warrior. He was a shepherd. And in those days, shepherds were at the lowest level of society. And so he showed up, provided some bread, heard about Goliath, and immediately he jumped into action. And then he was the one that was the hungry warrior. All the others were not having this hunger for life. And so that's why I say we don't work with the people who are just simply prideful and just have the money and all that. We work with the people that have that deep hunger for success. Because if we look around, and you can do that test at home with whomever, even your circle, and you can start looking at the actions of people if they are in alignment with their words. And you will notice that the majority of the people that are in your surroundings, so I imagine if you extrapolate it to 9 billion people or whatever that number is for the population, the global population of the earth, the majority of people don't want success. They're saying they do, but the majority would say, oh, I want to be healthy. And they're saying it. And then the very next second, and they're not cycling for 2 hours, by the way, and eating a chocolate bar, but they have a bag of chip with them and they're just eating a bag of chip. And I love cheese balls, okay? But if that's your only way that you wish to have vitamin D, that might not be the way to acquire a certain type of vitamin, okay? Whatever it may be. That might be somewhat of a comfort food that you indulge in after an extremely long bike ride where you're eating a bunch of cheese balls. But on a regular basis, that's not a proper diet. So that's what I discovered, whether it's in my naturopathic practice, whether it's through the Hungry Warrior Academy. We filter the men, and then we have a questionnaire, and the majority of them are not wanting success. And that's the case with, I would say, a lot of coaches, a lot of businesses. They'll just take your money. They will. They'll just take your money. They won't provide results, or they won't back up their claims, and their reputation to a certain level decreases. But that's their business. And for us, we want to have results, and so we want to deal with the individuals that wish to be successful. If you
So
don't want to
that's
be
the first.
successful, go ahead. Go to some other people. I ask you. I'm recommending other people. I will even call me. I'll recommend other people, other organization. I have no problem because I don't want to work with you.
The
Yeah.
first test then is, are you really hungry? Are you looking for more?
Yeah. Are you really hungry? Like, do you really want that success? Like, do you really want, many people are talking about that 10K month. Do you really want it? Like, do you understand what it takes to make that amount of money? And that would be the basic income for the individual that want to reach another level. That's the basic. 10K a month, that only gives you 120. That's it, a year.
Yeah.
And so if you remove taxes and all of it, even if you have a business and you have expenses, it still gives you about 100,000 clear, right? Say, I mean, it's probably even less. Say about 100. It's fair. It's a good amount. That's just the basic. And a lot of people, they don't want to do what it takes to achieve that state. And that's just finances. So we talked about finances, we talked about health. Like I said, the majority of people, they're saying something and then they don't do the action. Or they're at the bottom of the food chain and then they're complaining about the other individuals that are at the very top. You're yelling at the 1%er. You're yelling at the individuals that have done the work and are successful. Now, I'm not removing that there are some individuals that are born into wealth, but they will face their evil at some point where they will face some challenges and they're just facing them at a different level than you. And that's about it. But their impact will impact them even more because now they're dropping financially or they're dropping in their life at that level. So you have to look at it from the perspective of proportionally their mindset will be affected even more than what you are. But for most individual out there, they are sabotaging their life. And I did for years. That's what I did.
You sabotaged it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's what I did. It's not removing that I did a lot of like steps to try to achieve that success, but I made a lot of failures, and the only known cure to failure at the moment right now, because they did not come out with a new vaccine for it, is faith. And so if you don't have faith, then you're not going to succeed. So you need to have faith and you need to do all of the work to climb your mountain, whatever your mountain is. And if you have the right Sherpa, if you have the right individuals that want your success, you're bound to get to that top of the mountain.
Is your framework, your approach with individuals that join your academy, is it the basic same core framework, whether I'm looking for that financial success, my health, a race? Do you approach it the same way?
So, for example, the framework is based on Epic, and then the system is DECA, right? So both of them are acronym, but one of them is the foundations, was the same foundation for everybody. That's what you need at its core. Every single company or every single individual on earth, regardless of gender, requires those 4 pillars. They might be in different category, but you must be working on all 4 pillars.
Can you take us through those? Yeah.
Correct.
What are they?
So E is eternal restoration. You need to believe in some form of higher power, a divine individual that control all of these variables that you will not have access to. There are certain variables in the EpicDeca that I did not have control over. Could have got eaten by a shark. We did see sharks and we learned about it earlier. But again, those were variables I could not. We use a Christian mindset. So we do have Christian values. So definitely Christianity is at its core for the Hungry Warrior Academy. I want to make it clear. So we will be talking about Jesus Christ at the Academy. So if you get offended by Jesus Christ, that's fine. There are other organizations. Please just go see them and they will cater to whatever specific needs you have. Okay. P is physical temple. And so we see pastors who are in the church and leading with they have Christ at the forefront and they are not healthy. Mentally, physically, they are not sharp. They're not individuals that I would look at and say, well, I'm not talking about, well, I want to have some gym advice or have a gym bro while the guy is preaching. That's not what I'm asking. But I'm asking about how are you conducting yourself? You're the ideal example of sometimes thousands of people. As a church goer, you're looking at that person, sometime even, which is a sin, but idolizing that person or whatever he wants to say. you take it in because he's the pastor. He must know. He must have some weird connection with God that I don't have. But again, that person is displaying an unhealthy lifestyle in the world. A physical temple. You are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So
You
that's
see that with doctors a lot, don't you?
well, yeah, it depends. It depends. Yeah, yeah. That's one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them. Yeah, yeah.
They
Or
often look like the least healthy person that you talk to.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it has to do with the mindset, or
Yeah.
and the doctors. I would say has a lot to do with them overworking, and because they're overworking, they stress the body, which brings their cortisol level quite high. They want to cater to as many clients as possible, patients, and so by not regulating your energy properly and not having the knowledge about nutrition, which is another factor, then you might end up not being healthy as a result. And so that's why we're going to talk about the system, and the E is essentially energy regulation, right? So I in Epic is identity. So what is your identity rooting in? Like, what is it? Right? Some people it's in work, but then all of a sudden they lose their job for whatever reason, and then everything just crumbles. So if that pillar is quite high into identity, then others can be affected. Other pillars can be affected, which structurally speaking, the foundation is jeopardized or compromised. So community is the C. And so you must have that level of community. Well, we ask the question every time in the event of an emergency. We're talking about a life threatening emergency where you want to take your life away from your body. You want to unalive yourself, which happens right now at an alarming rate where men are predominantly more prone to unaliving themselves because of a certain unhealthy foundation between these four. And the question is posed where we ask, who would you call in that moment? And the majority of them are saying, I have no one.
You're saying you've got to have your safe community of support, and not just to talk about that issue. I think community is so important for everyone. You, just for our own well-being, that
Yeah,
community is so
it was only an
important.
example, right? Like
Yeah.
mental health reasons. And
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, definitely you're right. Everybody needs a certain level of community. But if we ask, and we take that example, I ask the man, who would you call in a type of emergency where
Yeah.
you want to unalive yourself? But for us, we're using facts and logic to, again, bring back a healthy way of coping with life and to build those four pillars.
Which sound like a very important foundation to have all of those. And you don't want to be missing in any of them. What's the next step now that you've gotten the hungry warrior, that epic foundation? What's next? What's the DECA component?
But once you're able to understand these foundation pillars for your life and how to integrate them appropriately, where they might be unequal to some degree, and then you need to build on them. Then we're looking at the DECA system. And the DECA system is the acronym also, which stands for discipline, energy regulation, capacity, and then action. So discipline, we're able to uh, create a certain type of discipline by building a structure and a system around what type of discipline you need in your life specifically. So everything is custom made. There's no cookie cutter. Like the idea of the cookie cutter, yeah, we have the DECA system, and yes, we do have the Epic Foundation. However, based on your criteria, what is the discipline that you require in your life? And so, as I said in the previous episode, discipline, the military did not give me discipline at all. The military gave me a structure and a system. If I follow the structure and a system, the discipline is the byproduct. If I did not follow the structure or the system, which is happening right now within the Canadian military, the higher command decided to be more lenient towards certain type of standards and remove, which is the system. And then they removed a certain level of structure and they allowed certain individuals that are in unhealthy behavior already as it is, both mentally and physically, to be in charge of individuals who might have been better suited for that position, but they are choosing that's the military. Therefore, now we have data to prove that there are a lot more undisciplined military members than there was when I served as a result. And that's just the byproduct. So by removing the structure, by removing the system, you don't have discipline. Why? Because it's really difficult for people to acquire that discipline on their own. Because again, it's based on willpower, and the majority of the time, it's really, really difficult to do it on your own. Then you have the energy regulation, which we talked about briefly earlier. It's depending on your needs. For you as a cyclist, going on a bike ride, if you are fasting or eating some carbs right before, you understand as a cyclist, that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But if all of a sudden I'm going in the morning on a podcast, now I'm sitting on a chair eating carbs, might not be what my body needs. But if I'm seeing some TikToker or some YouTube individual that says, oh, I should drink a shake in the morning, although the shake is healthy, it's a lot of carbs. And so now I'm more prone to anxiety within the same level of stress that I could have handled at another level had it been that I fueled differently. Whether if we're just looking at macros, fat or protein.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now it's understanding what are your specific needs based on nutrition. So then we have a nutritionist, and that person does a fantastic job. Again, there's a lot of teaching. We have some weekly calls in our community, and they're free. So people can just join our community and learn about nutrition for free. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to pay for the services and have it specifically tailored for you, and then they will give you pointers on your specific needs, then that's a cost.
Yeah.
However, if you just want to join the community, talk about mindset, we have those weekly calls with individuals. If you want to join as a female, you can still join as a female. We have no problem. It's a free community, right? But just understand that our target market is male base, right? So C is the capacity, and that's not just in terms of not knowing that you can do a half marathon. It's also understanding that a lot of people right now are in the wrong job, wrong position. And some people just, and sometimes it's within the same company, right? We had a guy who was higher in the company, accepted the position, and he's miserable and not capable of functioning. His pillars are out of control. And so we recommended that he drop. And he said, well, I'm going to lose money and probably respect from others. You will lose respect from others if you're not doing the right job. If you're not functioning well, yeah, you might make a lot more money at some degree for some period of time, but much less than if you can coast and be at a lower position in the company. And now the guy is thriving. So yes, he makes less money. Yes, he has a lower position in the company, but he's enjoying life. He's spending time with his family, which is part of his community. His identity is not necessarily rooted in work, which you can see that it was in this sense. Yeah. And he's regulating his energy much better because now he is in the capacity of that position. So it's not to change from, I was an electrician and now I'm going to be an ultra triathlete. Whoa, that's, there's a huge shift between those two, right? So it's not necessarily to quit your 9 to 5 job type of coach and then join an entrepreneurial way or buy all of these apartment buildings with all the money of other people. No, because most people cannot handle the workload of an entrepreneur. It's extremely difficult. Sometimes you work for an entire year, you get $0, and then at the end of the year, you get this one client who gives you $100,000, and now you're extremely happy because you made $100,000 in a year. So now you go online and you say, "I made $100,000," but nobody's looking at the 364 days that you were poor and broke, and now with that 100,000, you're just repaying all the credit cards and the debts that you have. But people are just looking at, well, he made 100,000. Now I want to do this. I want the freedom. In entrepreneurial, there's a lot of people that are going out of business, bankrupt, and a lot of people are not meant for this. They would be much better just going into the 9 to 5, enjoy your life, coast through it, work for somebody else. Why? And that's just my take on it. And that's just because you want, look at an electrician, right? You can work for someone. Okay, we talked about electrician. You can work for someone, make over $100,000 a year, and you're working for someone. That's it. You're enjoying your life. You're going to work. You don't have to worry about taxes and the IRS for you guys. For us, it's CRA or all of these provincial taxes and all of these hiring a secretary, but then the secretary quits, so now you have to hire somebody. You don't even have to worry. After 5 o'clock, you punch out and boom, you're gone. And if you come in later, you're on half time. Come in during the weekend, you're on double time. Yay, there you go. You get your paycheck, you're good. You make over $100,000. You work for 10 years, you make $1 million. There you go. You made your $1 million. Yes, over the span of 10 years, but and by the way, electricians are paid way more than $100,000 right now.
Yeah, they do quite well.
Really well, by the way. So that's what I mean by capacity. It's not just by understanding. Can I do an EpicDeca? I didn't think I could do it, but I placed it in my mind and said, yeah, I can do it. But I understood that my capacity was built to encourage others and to build others. And so when you look at all the podcasts that I've done, yes, we have people now, they reach out to us and then they say, hey, I watch that podcast, The Bold Journey with Rob, and I was mesmerized. I wanted to even watch the second show. And now I got that one. And I want to know more about what Rob has to say. I want to know more about all these other guests. Why? Because again, I'm encouraged, right? So we get these feedback from individual. Why? Well, that's because for me, it's the way I was created. That's it. I have this capacity.
That's your capacity. Yeah.
That's it.
So we got discipline, energy, capacity. Then the final action. Yeah.
Action. You must conduct a certain level of action. If you talk about, you want to go for a bike ride, and then all of a sudden you clean your bike, you make sure everything is ready, but then you don't go outside and do the work, it's not going to happen. And that's for a lot of people right now. They're all a big talk and then they don't do it at all. So for us, we don't just talk, we also act. Yeah. We're going to be the example, but we also want to work with the people that are going to do the action plan that we place all together so that we can custom make it directly for Rob, directly for the person listening that says, you know what, that's really for me. Sure. I want to see if I can be a part of these individuals. And if that is the case, sure, we'll look into it. But if not, if we're not the right fit, we're on the calls, we refer out. Not because we don't want to work with people or don't want their money. It's just that it's preferable if they go somewhere else because they're going to receive the right tools, maybe the right way that they will receive it, right? The same concept that I could explain it is sometimes your wife says something, she's precious for you, she says something and you're not listening properly because your actions are not in alignment with how you're receiving this information. Your friend would say the exact same thing, but in a different, somewhat frequency, in a different way. It's the exact same thing. But somehow that friend says the exact same thing as your wife just said. And all of a sudden it just registers and you say, well, there you go. That's what I'm going to do. There's your action plan.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's not about money. For us, it's about results and getting those men to achieve the success that they want physically, mentally, and also spiritually so that they can grow in their own sphere and impact the world the way that God is giving them their capacity.
Right. Okay. So JD, my Sherpa, let's say I've got the Epic down. I've got that foundation, and now I'm a former triathlete. I have a lower back issue, degenerative disc. Doctor recommended I stop running, so I've switched over to just cycling and have gotten swimming again. I can walk. Walk is no problem. Let's say I want to complete an Ironman. Is that something that I should even consider, knowing that I'm going to have to walk the marathon? I can't run it. And if it's achievable, what would you, as my Sherpa, recommend?
Well, because you're being followed by a doctor, one is ask your doctor if that is something that he can approve, because I can't go against a doctor's note. If a doctor
totally
says
agree.
yes,
Let's assume the doctor's given me the go ahead. It's like, Rob, you can definitely do that physically.
Then it would work on mindset because he already has the idea that he can switch from running directly to other abilities. So
yeah, I've done it before.
And the cycling. So that's the idea. So understanding that the numbers can add up, that you can walk the entire, if you have the swimming down and also the cycling properly done, then yes, you can. And then we would work on nutrition to see what are your levels of inflammation. So maybe it's assuming that you're saying it's a disc issue, but there might be a certain level of inflammation that is also causing that disc. Okay, so I'm not against that level of scoliosis, right, which is the misalignment of the spine. But there are certain food type that or certain types of noise, so to speak, certain stress in your life that might cause. So let's say you're in a bad relationship with your wife, okay? Just at that specific moment. Then we would look into your relationship and see maybe your wife is constantly yelling at you in that specific time of your life, which causes a nervous issue, which causes that level of inflammation. We're talking about noise. We're talking also about nutrition. And so that's why we would use the BRAIN acronym. The BRAIN acronym is B is for blood chemistry, R is recovery, A is attention, I is inflammation, and N is nervous system. But for you, I would jump right into inflammation and look at it from that standpoint, because what is causing that level of inflammation, which again, I can't realign your spine. I can't work on that. That's for the doctor. That's for the medical system. But if I can at least help you manage that level of pain that you might be going through based on the type of relationships or frequencies, so the type of noise, and the type of noise, inflammation can be caused by food. We talked about stress. Can be talked about screens. So we would look at your screen time, not just that number, but also the what you are watching. So
yeah, that's really interesting, JD, because if I think back to when I had that diagnosis, that was certainly a period of high stress. If I think back, where I was job-wise and the stress that was going on there, My nutrition probably wasn't as good as it is now back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
really
And then we would
interesting.
look at traditional Chinese medicine, which claims that certain vertebra are, or vertebrae, or call it whatever you want them. So those vertebrae are connected with certain organs. So we would ask which one it is, and this one is connected. That's in traditional Chinese medicine. And so that might be affected. So let's say you're talking about the lower back. Well, that might be the specific one that is connected, let's say, to your liver and, or maybe your pancreas. And in traditional Chinese medicine, again, if all of a sudden, then you would have a uh, certain types of food that would trigger an inflammation in the liver, which would cause that inflammation within. So again, it's all a big puzzle, and that's why I love to look at
Yeah.
all of these systems, which becomes a puzzle, and it's beautifully made because everything is interconnected and speaks to one another, and that's even for all types of medicine. They understand that now they've proved it, that now all organs are talking to within one another, and so you're able to now understand which one is connected with it. So I understand. I'm not, again, disproving the claim from the doctor. He's the professional, but again, it's looking at the inflammation that might be causing or reducing that level of inflammation that can, again, lead you to live a healthier life at that specific level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's, again, you talked about stress, right? Higher stress in your life, again, it's just that the nervous system is all seized. You're not able to think properly. And so that might be the nerves that are running down your spine. And your spine is only there to protect those nerves and those vessels, or that circulatory system that is
Yeah.
passing through. That's what your spine is there. But sometimes because of those, unless you had a direct blow, and very often it's um it's what you're doing to your body that causes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JD, the human body is so beautifully and wonderfully made by God, and it's just fascinating. I was even thinking about it on my bike ride last night, and we were pushing it pretty hard, and I was just thinking about how God designed it, to take in oxygen through my lungs and push that out, and the blood pumping through my heart. It's just amazing how we're created.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's how
And
I
to
would
think,
deal with that hypothetical individual.
yeah, and how everything's interconnected. I hadn't thought about that. Let's close it out. JD. Any final words of advice for people that are listening that are hungry for more? Any final words that you want to put out there?
Yeah. Well, my quote is, if your goals are not scaring you, set the bar higher. And so you must be scared, but also have faith. Because as I said, the cure, or the only known antidote to failure, is faith. And so you must have a certain level of faith. And to do that, you must have fear. And that fear will come from setting your goals at a high.
That's a great way to close out, JD. And you just told me my goals are not high enough because I got to set that bar higher. All right, this has been fantastic. Thank you again for coming back, JD. This has been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me, bro.